Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment down below if you have any questions or comments regarding today's topic. Right, let's begin. In today's topic, I wanted to talk about how to find great accommodation after graduating from university. For vast majority of people, when they're moving to university, they either just like make the decision on a whim, because most of them usually just get, you know, caught up by the idea of, oh, I'm going to university or whatsoever. It can be very difficult to make a logical decisions at that point. So many people end up staying at the university's residence or like the college residence that they're going to. But after graduation, you're probably already in like a couple of $1,000s in debt. So, you know, it becomes necessary for you to cut your expenses in order to be able to save money to pay back your student loan. And more importantly, save money to begin to build your own life and begin to build a career for yourself. So in today's day and age, there are tons of app for everything. So I'll definitely suggest, the first thing I would suggest is to make sure that you're using a reputable app. What do I mean by reputable app? I know there's like Kijiji here in Canada. There might be Craigslist and all those places where you can easily find really great accommodations. But you know, there are also very unscrupulous forums or online apps that, you know, get you to pay a certain amount of money in order to be able to access their app. I don't think that's necessary for you, especially when you're just coming out of university. Make use of the free apps and free websites like Kijiji, like I said, to find really great accommodation. Right. The number two tips that I'm going to be giving is make sure you know who you're talking to on those apps. Specifically, if you're looking at Kijiji here in Canada, make sure that you ask for their phone number so that you can call them and talk to them. Make sure you ask for previous tenants that have lived with in the apartment so that you can contact the person and find out what the accommodation is like and what it was like for you to live with other people who are living in that environment, who live in that house. For a large majority, from my experience, sometimes what those people do is, you know, they get you to move into their house, and then when you move in, you find out that a bunch of amenities that they tell you that they have, you know, are actually included. So by talking to people who have lived in the house, you're able to find out what the atmosphere, what the environment in the house is like, and you're more able to get a sense of the type of personality that these people, the landlord, tend to want to have in the house. Right, number two, you want to ask for lots of picture of the house, like especially of the house, of the room, of the kitchen, of the toilet. And if they do have a laundry service, make sure you ask for a picture if you're looking for a place that has a laundry service. I know that in some places, you know, they tell you they have laundry services, and then you get there and you find out that they only have like washer, and dryer is now actually included, and you have to pay extra money to either get your laundry service somewhere else in order for you to get like the drying aspect of it. So yeah, just make sure that he has a bunch of, they provide you with tons of pictures so you can get a good representation of the accommodation that you're trying to book. Number three would be make sure you ask tons of questions about the house. Like when you're talking to the landlord, ask questions about how close is the location to bus terminal, train stations, restaurants, uh, and a bunch of other places around that are essential, like grocery stores, because like you can save tons of money by just making sure you find accommodations that are fairly close proximities to things that you need access to. Uh, Especially if you don't drive like myself, you don't want to have to be waiting for like 1 hour or 30 minutes at the bus station in order to be able to get to places like grocery stores and such. So definitely making sure you ask a lot of questions in that regards would go a long way. Fourth thing that I would suggest is make sure that the house that you're looking at is exactly what it is when you actually get to the place. Um, what do I mean by that? Some individuals will give you pictures and everything will look all good in the picture, and then when you get to the place, you're looking at the place and it doesn't match. So you want to go and check the place out, if possible, in advance, to ensure that what the picture they've sent to you are accurate and reflects what they've told you the accommodation is like. Um, Lastly, um, when you're going to check the place, you also want to make sure that if the individual is asking for you to provide damage deposit or something like that in advance, that you bring that along with you, because when you get there, there's probably tons of other people also looking to rent the place. So just make sure that you have like all the things that the individual is asking you to bring, like damage deposit and stuff. That way you can seal the deal right then and there if you like the accommodation, and if you don't like the accommodation, then you can leave, knowing that you're not forced to make any decision at that point. I'll actually give you guys a little story about myself when I moved down to Calgary. When I think I had just moved down to Calgary for school to start my college, and I was looking for accommodation. So I found the accommodation online. I asked the individual to provide me with pictures, and they provided me with pictures. Although the pictures they provided me were a little bit scanty, they didn't quite show the true reflection of the accommodation. When I got there, I had a bunch of all my stuff that I was going to be using, my computer, my bags, and a bunch of luggages and other stuff too that I'm going to be using in school. So yeah, I got there, and then the place did not look anywhere as close to what he had told me the place should look like. So I got in. Unfortunately, the person that had brought me to the location was reasonable enough to come pick me up the next day, because I had to eventually stay there and figure out how to find a new accommodation as quickly as possible. So as soon as I was there, I stuck it out. I didn't want to speak out right then and there, knowing that I needed a place to stay for the night. So I just stuck in there for a day. The place smelled like urine. Everything was a mess. The individual that owned the house was also rearing like chicken at the back. It just was not a good situation. I got into the house, the door didn't have any keys. It was absolutely an awful situation to be in as a person. So yeah, I would definitely suggest for you to make sure that if at all possible, if you're not in the city and you know somebody that's in the city, that they go and verify that the place actually look like the picture they've sent to you. Or yeah, if at all possible, just make sure that you're getting an accurate representation of the place. So the last tips that I'm going to be giving you today is around shared spaces and other people who are living in the houses with you. Sometimes it's always very difficult to get along with people who do not have, like, if you don't have similar personalities and stuff like that, it can be very difficult. So just get a good sense of the type of people that are in our house. Can often be difficult because you haven't lived with those people before. So um, getting a true authentic representation of those people can be very difficult. So when you do move in, definitely try and make sure that um, you give yourself good chunk of a month to get to know those people and figure out what their personality is like. Are they clean people? Do they take good care of their own stuff? Um, yeah, and again, you want to make sure that those things are at the forefront of your mind when you're moving in into the place. Lastly, I think I just thought of another thing I was going to mention, but now I right. I believe what I was going to say was that if you're gonna be renting the place, maybe don't get locked into a contract with any individual. If they say to you, "Oh, I want you to do like a 1 year contract with me" or something like that, that's usually a bad sign for me because I don't really like doing long-term commitment. I prefer to do month to month with anyone, person that I'm with. I like the flexibility of knowing that if the accommodation does not no longer meet my need, I can move out at any point. All I gotta do is give them 1 month's notice and move out. If if the individuals that are now moved in, we don't gel, because people move out and other people move in. If those new individuals that are moving in no longer meets my own personality, then I can also move out in that situation. So definitely just making sure that if you're booking a shared accommodation, that you're able to move whenever you want, that you have the flexibility of doing that. Most people would try and get you to sign maybe a 1 year contract with them, but definitely it's in your interest to definitely not sign those type of contracts.